batsmen staying in their creases, afraid to come at you. And here guys coming at you.
Even though they try to flatten it out, sometimes they were there to the pitch. I mean, they were so, I found that they were so fast on their feet.
Right.
It wasn't easy bowling to them.
Willett, tell us a little bit. You're retired now. Tell us a little bit about the mystery of Willett. Because I remember one time. Tell us a little bit about your feelings. Do you think you were unfairly treated? I mean, to me, you should have been on the Western side for a long time. Your stint was a little short, too short for my liking. What do you personally think?
Well, I think so too. When I was dropped in India after the third test match, I think I did fairly well. I got 2 wickets in the second test match. I got 2 in the third test match. And we won both those matches. And I thought I was a bit unfairly treated there. But those days, the insularity thing, I mean, it wasn't easy those days. I mean, look at Derek too. I think Derek should play for his team for 10 years. I mean, I think Derek would have been the best spin bowler the West Indies would have ever seen if he was given that chance to play, for a long time. I mean, you can see it, in most players from the Leeward Islands.
Well, life
Stewart and so on, I think could have gotten a longer one. Even though people feel that, he got a fair chance. But I thought a couple of times he could have given a fair chance.
Yeah. In terms of life, though, life goes on after cricket. You're now a coach established in Nevis. You have 2 sons who have done pretty well at the game. Are you disappointed they haven't reached where maybe they could have reached up to this point?
Yes, I'm very disappointed. I really thought that by now, at least one of them would have been on the West Indies team. Well, Tony in particular, he started off very well. But he still feels that he's going to make it. Okay. He still feels that.
Once he has that conviction.
But he has the conviction, but he has to apply himself. I think he needs to focus more on his game. He has the potential to still go. He's still a young man. And Akito too, has a lot of potential. He made double 100 for Nevis last year. He made 139 not out this year. He shows that he can bat and bowl. And I think once they apply themselves, fully to the game, they can still do it.
And your wife would have been a staunch support for you over the years. I'm sure this interview wouldn't be complete unless you tell us something about the support your wife would have given you.
Well, yes, we've been friends since maybe 1978 or so. Shortly after I played for West Indies. She always was a good supporter, one of my best supporters, if not the best, really. Like in terms of preparing my clothes and all and so on, to go on tours and so on. She was always there, always supportive. One of my biggest fans.
Okay, great. Willett, as we wrap up this interview, there's some youngster out there. Barack Obama has showed us that you could be black, you could be poor, you could make it in this world, make it big. What would you want to tell a youngster who probably is thinking twice about playing the game of cricket, or maybe even playing cricket but thinking, I'll never get there? What would be your thoughts to that youngster?
Well, as you talk about Obama, he proved that, it doesn't matter, your race or anything, or, your social background or anything. I mean, you can be anything you want to be.
Right.
Like I've told some youngsters, especially if you have education, you can be the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis. You can be anything, But if you look at cricket these days, there's so much money. I think the money alone should be enough motivation for these youngsters. We used to play hard for nothing.
For nothing, for
real.
And,
it's helped me to see how some of these fellas just fooling around with so much money around in the game. You can make any team. I mean, it is kind of difficult around here because of the insularity thing. But you've seen 5 or 6 players from Nevis, made it. So
after you open the door.
Well, yeah, after I opened the door. So, I guess that it was more difficult then. So if I could have done it, I mean, you can do it now.
That's true.
You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can do anything. And we have a lot of youngsters with potential. Even at the under 13 level and so on. And these youngsters, really focus on their game. We're gonna produce a lot of test players.
Okay, great.
What I've seen on the 15, on the 13s, the potential is really there.
Okay. Yeah. Well, just a quick aside. I remember some time ago watching cricket. You were close by, and you made some mention that some of these cricketers focus too much on the trinkets more than the game. You want just a quick one on that?
Yeah, I think some of these gentlemen focus more on the trinkets, as you call them, the earrings and the bracelets and the chain and so on, the shades, So wasn't those gentlemen took some brilliant catches without the shades?
Exactly.
The shades
Willett too took some brilliant catches.
Myself. But those fellas never played in shades. We never played in shades, and the sun was always there. They say shades take the sun out of your eyes, but I think the focus is too much on those things. Fashion. I noticed some of the other teams are not using the shades so much now. So I'm started, the Englishman, but with a lot of players now are not worrying with these shades and so on. And I don't think these fellas have enough pride, in themselves and their country, the Caribbean. They don't work high enough. I don't think they work high enough at their game. I mean, you look at people like Andy and so on, those, especially our fast bowlers. And they used to do a lot of running. I don't know if this boy is doing they might go to the gym, but you need legs. As a fast bowler, they need legs. I think they need 2 and 1 thing. But I think they need to get more serious with the game in general. I don't think they're working high enough at their game. You just see what some work they did with the Stanford team. They said they trained for about 6 weeks, and you saw the result. They were very sharp and so on. So they need to continue to work hard, even harder than that. And, you can see what's in this team, back at the top.
All right. Well, I must tell you, the privilege was definitely mine to speak with you. I'm honored, and I'm seriously thinking that one of these days, as we sit here, we won't be sitting at Grove Park. We'll be sitting at the Elquemedo Willett Park. Thank you very much.
Mr. Elquemedo Willett. Mr. Elquemedo Willett was the first man from the Leeward Islands to play for the West Indies when he made his debut as a 19-year-old against Australia in 1972-73. He took 2 wickets and 5 in the next 2 tests, including his best of 3 for 43 at Port of Spain. It was enough to ensure he toured England in 1973, where he took 30 wickets but was unable to break into the Test side. He then toured India and Pakistan in 1974-75, taking 2 wickets in each of his Tests. On his debut, Willett bowled more overs than any other bowler in the match, quite a feat considering that his spin partner was the legendary Lance Gibbs. During his international career, Willett featured in 5 Tests, taking 11 wickets. Mr. Elquemedo Willett is the uncle of former West Indies opener Stuart Williams, and his 2 sons, Tonito and Akito, have both represented the Leeward Islands. He made his international debut under Captain Rohan Kanai and played his last Test in 1975 under Clive Lloyd against India at Eden Gardens in Calcutta. The Elquemedo Willett Park, formerly Grove Park, in Nevis, is named in his honor. He can be described as a quiet, affable, and humble man. As one of the genuine trailblazers in West Indies cricket, he ensured that the door was opened to Leeward Island players in particular, as they forged a new path in the regional game. We salute Mr. Elquemedo Willett, MBE, MH Medal of Honor, member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire.
Willett, Elquemedo Willett, 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 Elquemedo Willett. This unspoken division is really a man amongst men. The little left and spin bowler show the selectors he's the master. Congratulations from all Antiguans.
Good evening once again. On behalf of the kitchen staff, I want to apologize for the slow pace of play. But there are many people, especially in the diaspora, have been wondering what's happening with our live stream. We had promised that we would go live at 8:20. And so we're going to do that just now, craving your understanding. Now, those of you who've got a program, I want you to take a good look at it. Designed by Chanel Pinney Myers and then produced by Sharon Walters. It's an excellent bit of work. Tonight, of course, is the culmination of the celebration of the life and times of Elquemedo Willett, classy at 50. So many things have been done on the island. I had the pleasure of writing a book called The Father, Son, and Offsprings to coincide with this occasion. Just in case you're wondering about the name, the father is Johnny Howell. And I've seen some of his family members here tonight. First captain of Nevis in 1949. I want you to give the Howells a round of applause. In 1953, 4 players from the Leewards sailed to Guyana to try out in front of the West Indian selectors. Victor Eddy's here, his father, Austin Eddy. The late Austin Eddy was there. He takes a bow. Give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. He was joined by Stanley Thompson from St. Kitts. From Antigua, there was Hubert and Tannerson. And from Nevis, Theodore Ted Hobson, QC. Don't know if Mr. Hobson is here, but give him a round of applause as well. First division, and here's a young Howell, I think the great-grandson of the father of Nevis cricket, Johnny Howell. 20 years after Theodore Hobson, of course, came Elquemedo Tonito Willett, and he's the son. And then 6 others followed in his footsteps. I wasn't given a protocol list tonight, but I've looked around the audience, and I know Keith Atherton is here. Give him a round of applause. Stuart Williams, the nephew of Elquemedo Willett, is also here. Give him a round of applause. And Carly Tuckett, who played a solitary one-day international against England, taking 2 for 41 in Trinidad in 1998. He's also here. And then, because of Willett's deeds, of course, we talked about the 15 Antiguans who were followed. And so the offsprings in my book refers to Derek Parry, Keith Atherton, Stuart Williams, Carly Tuckett, Ronako Morton, the late Ronako Morton, and Kyron Powell. So we have a very rich cricketing pedigree. Thank you very much. Other things have happened over the past month or so. I partnered with the Nevis Public Library, sharing my research and pictures to host an exhibition focusing on 78 years of organized cricket in Nevis. And so that exhibition closes tomorrow. So those of you who are visiting, the Nevis Public Library is opposite the Charlestown Market. Do go and take a look before that exhibition closes at 5 p.m. I have described in my book as probably the best cricketing idea that has come out of Nevis is the Nevis Sports Museum. I would have been totally at a loss if I didn't have it at my fingertips to help with research. I don't know if you have a cricket museum in Antigua, Sir Andy? Well, we have always been the first. So Nevis, take a pat on the back. It is an excellent idea which came from former sports minister, Mr. Lofton Brandy. He deserves a lot of applause. Willett visited the museum today. There were 3 schools in attendance. Told me tonight he had never signed so many autographs. I'm happy to see that there's intergenerational pass on. That is one of the reasons why it took 3 years of hard work to produce this book. And so I'm very happy to see what you did today, Willett. I went to the museum myself and posed next to his statue saying, when I grow up, I'd like to be like him. I'd like to follow in your footsteps. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, Sir Andy Roberts will join us at 2020 Vision Radio for 2 hours. We'll have also Elquemedo Willett there, and Tyrone O'Flaherty, who witnessed Willett's first test match in Barbados. And we'll also be joined by Bob Hull, who's on St. Kitts by telephone. He also witnessed Willett's first test match. Your calls will be invited. On the Sunday, when Willett was announced on the West Indies side, ZIZ, which was the only radio station at the time, interrupted its regular programming, playing religious music, to bring congratulatory messages. The day after, Deputy Chief Minister Paul Southwell, also a national hero, announced at a public meeting that they had received over 200 calls, some to be played at a later date, congratulating Willett. Now, bear in mind that real telecommunications came to St. Kitts and Nevis through Scantel in 1985. But in 1973, ZIZ radio was flooded with over 200 calls congratulating Willett. It was an amazing achievement. I mentioned the program before. It's very interesting. I really like the way they've used cricketing terms, cricketing jargon to explain the presentations which are to follow. They said I gave the pitch report as the master of ceremonies. Well, that's done and dusted. So let's play. I invite my history teacher, former history teacher, former president of the Nevis Cricket Association, and former rep to the West Indies Cricket Board, Mr. Joseph Parry. Let's play.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. The big man tonight, Elquemedo Tonita Willett, and Mrs. Willett, and the president of the Nevis Cricket Association. I now turn to the formal greetings. Your Excellency, the Governor General, dear Master Leeward, Prime Minister, Honorable Terence Drew, and Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. What a historic occasion. 50 years to the day that Elquemedo Tonito Willett became the first Nevisian, the first person from the Leeward Islands to play for the West Indies. We are to say congratulations. The significance of this achievement has escaped us for a long time. And the fact that we have done nothing about it is troubling. Troubling because we, as Nevisians, take so many things for granted. And as a consequence, we leave no benchmarks for the young ones to measure themselves by. Tonight marks for us a beginning, a new beginning, a realization, and I quote Marcus Garvey, for a people without a history is like a tree without roots. It's very important that we as divisions learn to elevate the outstanding ones and honor our people. Cricket was life. Cricket in the 50s and the 60s was life. The names of Johnny Howell and Charlie Hobson will ring long throughout the ages. The one lighted the flame of cricket throughout Nevis. The other was the first captain in 1955 to lead Nevis to Leeward Island victory. What a day it was. A boy from Cotton Ground, at the age of 6, was there to witness it. It was like carnival. You see, in those days, the 4 teams from the Leewards gathered together at one spot. And they played cricket during the day, and they danced through the night. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that boy was able to go to St. Thomas's School at night and see the cricketers at work and see people enjoying themselves. Those are the days when boyfriend and girlfriend dressed alike. And when they went to the dance, they demonstrated their skills on the dance floor. It was a great time, and it was so much fun, and brought so many people together. That memory, that pride, has served the people of Nevis so many years. Even through the dark days of the 70s. Yes, cricket is life. It is fun. It allows self-expression, fortitude, flair, endurance, and leadership to come forth. Credit, or more than credit, was given sometimes where it was due or not due. Certain players were privileged. I remember my friend and family, Livingston Sargent, playing in Cotton Ground, and it was very difficult to get him out, especially if the umpire wanted to see him bat. I remember this story as well. And if Bob Hull is here, or if he's listening, he'll be it to be true. Auckland Hector, who I argue was the best wicketkeeper in the Leeward and Windward at his time, was keeping in a game Barbados versus St. Kitts and Nevis. And Gary Sobers was batting. And Gary got stranded at the bowler's end. And this great wicketkeeper was rolling and fumbling until Gary got back in his crease. And when it was said, Hector, why? He said, I wanted to see Gary Sobers bat. He butchered Curry. He butchered Gilbert. 6 after 6 over by the police station. until he was 99 not out when they declared. And then you know what Sobers did? He took the ball, bowled out Len Harris, then came off the ball and gave St. Kitts and Nevis a whipping. That was cricket. That was style. And if I talk about style, I'll talk about Government Road. Government Road had style. They stroked the ball and pushed the ball. You have Mac Paris, stylist. You had Johnny Rollins, and the chief of them all, Stuart Williams. Government Road had style. The Pioneer style was different. It was brutal. It was aggressive. It was Everett Sargent. And then, of course, you had the Ed Arterton style. Ed Arterton, who was the greatest captain in the old days. And Andy will remember very well. When Andy flowed Derek Parry, Ed Arterton was on the other side. And he was provoking Andy and pointing down to his house, down to see the trees, and said, gonna hit him for 6. And for some reason, Andy did not bounce Ed Arterton. He got away with it. That's where he was, brash, combative, and very aggressive. That was Ed Arterton's style. The point I'm making is that cricket gave us the opportunity to express ourselves in so many different ways, and for our personality to develop, and us to have self-confidence. At another level in the Caribbean, and this has to do with consciousness and self-respect. The first meeting I attended at the West Indies board level, I was taken by the outgoing president in the corridor. And he took me and he said, son, we are going to have a new president. Captain Peter Short is up for election. But the West Indies board is not yet ready for a white president. So we are going to choose Clyde Walcott. And then, before I had a chance to vote, they were able to get Short to nominate Clyde Walcott, and so he surrendered his position, and Clyde Walcott became president. I make that point to tell you that cricket in itself indicated something about what we thought ourselves and how we could develop ourselves in these Caribbean islands. And I'm saying this because somehow I see people fighting with basketball and all kind of ball, and they're not playing cricket today. But cricket is our game, the game that made us important in the Caribbean and the world. And we need to put our money and support in cricket. Cricket meant everything to us. And so we have Elquemedo, Tonito Willett. Born on the 1st of May, 1953, to Harry Willett and Florence Williams of Government Road. And Government Road had many stars before. I heard about Wallace and Jimbo Morgan. All those were outstanding stars of the past. So it is not surprising that Government Road produced Willett. Willett was destined to greatness. He did not choose it. He did not know. But maybe it was a good thing, because his humility served him well. And even tonight, we can see the gentleman, Elquemedo Willett, has remained steady, sincere, and down to earth in spite of the heights he achieved. Elquemedo turned into Willett. I knew Everett Sargent. Of course, I knew Derek Parry, Ashley Farrell, and Calvin Swanston. And I heard them talking about this boy at boys' school who nobody could bat, was always beating them. Somebody named Elquemedo Willett. And I wondered who Willett was. Then I heard Ed Atherton was his mentor. He didn't tell me this, but I heard it. And so, in 1969, at the age of 16, he played for Nevis in Montserrat. He did not tell me much about what happened in Montserrat. Sorry, this was played in Antigua. He didn't tell me much about what happened in that match. But I was listening when he played Antigua. I was listening and I taped the meeting. I taped the innings. Because Tim Hector, the vocal Tim Hector, was on the radio. And he said, and he was bowling to my hero, the man who I regarded as the prettiest batsman in the Caribbean, Derek Michael. In fact, my uncle said they used to call him Darling Derek. And I wouldn't say what else. He was so pretty. And the first ball that was bowled to Derek Michael, he beat him outside the house stump. The second ball, he wrapped him on the pad, and the third ball, he bowled him neck and crop. That was Elquemedo Willett. And that is how Elquemedo Willett started his career as a great bowler. Because Derek Michael was regarded by all people in the Leeward Islands as the outstanding bat, only challenged by Len Harris. Elquemedo Willett was there when they had a breakdown. I won't say much about that. He was not part of it. But I could tell you about 1971 because I was sitting next to a Mount Stratton, Harold Bramble. And the Mount Strattons came to Nevis with pride and a willingness to beat. Jim Allen was their hero. Jim Allen was flatten Nevis. And the first session before lunch, Nevis bowling Montserrat. Montserrat had 102 for 1. And we were silenced. And we wondered what was going on. But then Jim got out and Willett got going. I believe that Willett took 8 wickets for 2 runs. And from a score of 104 for 1, Montserrat was bowled out for 114. It's the first time I saw batsmen afraid to go to the wicket. I saw batsmen trembling, literally trembling, and going down and coming back out in a parade. He had devastated and demoralized Montserrat. He took 8 wickets in the first innings and 4 in the second. And his name was made throughout the Caribbean. In 1972, the great Derek Robbins took him to England, where he said he met Barry Richards. And we knew once he made that team, he would play for the West Indies, and he did. The chairman already said what happened, so I will skip that out. I won't go into that. What I would say, that I was amazed because I listen to cricket every night. South Africa, India, Australia. Sometimes so that I took an hour to move from one end of the band to the other end, with my eyes closed, lying flat on the floor, and just listening. And I heard Willett bowling in India. And when I heard Tony Coles just say, it was the feeling of Clive Lloyd that made Elquemedo Willett bowl well. I said, boy, this is it. And it was it. Willett never really made the West Indies side again. A pity. In February 1978, Leeward's against Australia, I saw Willett bowling, and Derek Perry was with him. It's the most beautiful piece of spin bowling I've ever seen. Poetry in motion, wheeling and dealing and using the crease and the slow ball and the straight ball. And Willett got 12 wickets in that match, but he was never considered again. For me, though, Willett had done his job. He had cracked the glass ceiling, and he had opened the way for Andy Roberts and Very Richards to dominate, and dominate they did. From then on, the Leeward Islands became a force in West Indies cricket, and it is for us to keep it that way and do not let it change. Willett was fortunate to marry Sandrine Willett. She comes from a branch of cricketers too, the Wallaces on Government Road, and they have 4 beautiful children. They're all grown up now. Congratulations, Sandrine, for being such a good wife. A strong wife, I must say, but a good one. And to Elquemedo for having this lasting relationship with your dear wife. I want to say that we of Nevis and we of the Leeward Islands, St. Kitts, Nevis, and the Leeward Islands, must be proud of the performance of our players, Elquemedo, Willett, and all those who made Test cricket and those who didn't. Because we cannot overlook Victor Eddy, who is here, who was a champion in his day. His father, Spofford in 1959 with that red sash around his waist, approaching the crease to bowl. Len Harris, the great batsman, all those who made contribution to Leeward Islands cricket and to West Indies cricket. I will end by saying this. I believe it is not too late. I believe, just like in Barbados and Jamaica and those places, you don't just honor with a dinner, but you find some way to give them some kind of stipend, and some kind of honor that can elevate them in the eyes of people. Because if you want people to honor somebody, you can't afford for them not to be able to live a decent life. You must say to them, this man is there because he has done well. And we want the rest of you to try to achieve the level he achieved and even to do better. That is how you uplift your society. And so that is my recommendation tonight. Congratulations to Carlisle, to Steve on his book. He gave me one a few minutes ago. I hope other people follow in their footsteps to elevate, to record, and to let us know why Nevisians are who they are. Congratulations on the 50 years of service. You're young, and you continue to give service. Please continue to set the example for the young people of Nevis, of St. Kitts and Nevis, and of the Leeward Islands. Thank you very much.
Mr. Joseph Parry, still the historian. Give him a round of applause, please. I recall in my book that Sunday afternoon when Willett had that glorious spell of bowling at the then Grove Park. I recall that I was at the Gingerland Methodist Church with my brother Orville, And he had a Philips radio, which at that time had a single wire leading to the air. And we switched it between the two of us as we followed that game. So 101 for 1 at lunchtime. Our father had promised to take us to the park in his truck. He was a truck driver. And as soon as we arrived, Jim Allen got out, and then Montserrat was bowled out for 114. Willett was in fact none for 29 at lunch and took 8 wickets for 2 runs, ending with 8 for 31. That same season, in 3 matches, he took a total of 36 wickets to set a new Leeward Islands record. Willett has told me often that his mother always told him as he grew into his teenage years that Nevis would never win the Hesketh Bell Shield again until Willett played in Nevis, for Nevis. Mr. Parry said we won first in 1955. We won for a second time in 1971. And with mission accomplished, Willett's mother closed her eyes that same year, December 1971. During Willett's time from 69 to 89, we won a total of 6 Leeward Islands championships. Give this champion a round of applause, please. The game has evolved from 3-day games and 4-day games. Of course, we had the glorious Berridge-Howell matches starting in 1976, which brought the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis closer together. And then we moved to 50-over games and 20-over games, and now we're having 10-10. The game has changed. So it's a good time to invite the president of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, Enoch Lewis, to take a quick single. Give him a good welcome as he comes to the podium.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. A quick single. I wish to adopt the protocols established, except I want to recognize the following dignitaries. Prime Minister Terence Dew, Premier Mark Brantley, Mr. Willett and Sandrine, your wife, and of course, the ace fast bowler that West Indies has produced, Dr. Sir Andy Montgomery Everton Roberts. My single, I want to start my single, I think I missed my protocol because the first person I should have acknowledged was the Governor General, Marcella Liebert. My apologies, ma'am. So I start my quick single by saying that as I reflected on the name of our honoree tonight, it struck me that just like names, initials too have meanings. The question then became, what would ETW translate to on the field of play as it relates to our honoree? Instantly, the words exceptional, transcendent winner came to mind. However, players of his era, in particular those batsmen who were mesmerized over the years, have a different spin on his initials. For them, for the trauma they encountered, the initial ETW could only mean a single thing, which is extraterrestrial weapon. Whichever the description of choice, I am sure you are in agreement that Mr. Willett was once a force to be reckoned with and is truly deserving of the recognition that is being bestowed on him tonight. Elko, as he's affectionately known by his cricketing colleagues, was born in Nevis on May 1st, 1953. It would not come as a surprise to learn that he came into the world with ball in hand. And he quickly excelled as a cricketer. By the very tender age of 16, when most boys his age are struggling to find an identity, he was performing national duties for Nevis in the Leeward Islands cricket tournament against players twice his age. At first glance, his inviting smile, quiet disposition, small physique, and baby-face appearance would lead one to think that he was ill-equipped for his assignment. But with ball in hand, this seemingly gentle personality suddenly transformed into a cricket assassin. Ball after ball of his orthodox leg spinners were delivered with precision, flight, bounce, and turn, which made him a most intimidating force on the cricket field. Mr. Willett's exploits propelled him upwards, and in the 1970-71 season, at the early age of 17, he made his first-class debut for the Leeward Islands, where he continued to demonstrate his wicket-taking prowess. 2 years later, in 1973, and at the very youthful age of 19, he was called up by the West Indies selectors, which made him the first, yes, the very first from the Leeward Islands to play Test cricket. So, 50 years on this date, March 9th, 1973, Elko played his first Test match versus Australia for the West Indies. This was a seminal moment in the history of the people of Nevis and the Leeward Islands, both at home and in the diaspora. Finally, a so-called small islander had entered a space which hitherto was reserved for the privileged few from the so-called Big Islands. Since that time, numerous players, including the great Sir Andy Roberts, who is here with us tonight, have followed Elko into Test cricket. In total, he played 5 Test matches for West Indies between 1973 and 1974, with the last Test match versus India on December 27, 1974. Following the completion of his cricket career, Mr. Willett spent several years working for the government in the Ministry of Sports, where he performed the role of cricket coach. It is therefore not a mystery that Nevis has continued to produce several international cricketers. In July 2010, Grove Park, The venue at which he created havoc as a cricketer for many years was justifiably renamed the E.T. Willett Park in his honor. In 2017, Mr. Willett was appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire in the New Year's Honours List for services rendered to sport. In December 2022, we at the Leeward Islands Cricket Board introduced a Gold Jacket Award ceremony and made Elco the first recipient of this award in acknowledgement of his outstanding contribution to cricket in the Leeward Islands. We at the LICB trust that the relevant authorities will follow our lead and further honor Mr. Willett with a title and remuneration package truly befitting of his ambassadorial status. Clearly, his body of work as a volunteer, de facto ambassador of the land of his birth, speaks for itself. In the process, he brought fame and a sense of pride to Nevision everywhere, starting in the 1970s, at a time when many people in the Caribbean and the world had little or no idea that Nevis existed, more so was a cricketing force. In winding up, I wish to state that it is indeed a pleasure to be here tonight to celebrate my former opponent, turned teammate, turned friend, Elco. He has been a true ambassador of the sport of cricket and a true gentleman on and off the field. On behalf of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, I wish him, along with his family, God's blessings and guidance as he continues this chapter of his life. Finally, I wish to congratulate the NCA on conceptualizing and executing on the conceptualization and execution of this function. Good night, and long may we continue to celebrate our sporting heroes.
Thank you. Enoch, very good knock. The dapper Enoch Lewis, president of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board. In that 1973 Shell Seal season, Willett bowled more overs than any other bowler. 208 overs and 2 balls, 18 wickets, 23.77 the average, with a best of 6 for 40, the very Sunday that he was called to West Indies duty. The closest spinner to him was Rafiq Jumedin, 195.5 overs, 15 wickets at 32.93, with a best of 6 for 60. Willett was only bettered by Lance Gibbs, who bowled 182 overs and 3 balls for 22 wickets at 16.13, with the best of 6 for 39. On that Sunday, he broke the door down. The selectors had to answer the call. Thank you again, Enoch. And now it's time for the umpire's call. The next presenter is a man who, at this time, is the Premier of Nevis. And I want you to welcome the Honorable Mark Brantley to bring you remarks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The protocol has been very ably established, but of course, let me recognize our Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Marcella Leeward, our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, our honoree this evening, Mr. Elquemedo, Tonita Willett, and Mrs. Willett, our special guest, Sir Andy Roberts, and of course, sitting here with us as well as our former Premier, the Honorable Joseph Parry, colleagues from the Nevis Island Administration, Cabinet, and the Nevis Island Assembly, and those colleagues from the Federal Parliament as well, the leadership of the Nevis Cricket Association, and those who are here from the Leeward Islands Cricket Association. I say good evening to all. It is indeed an honor to briefly address those gathered here in this show of recognition and most deserving celebration of the contribution made by Mr. Elquemedo Tonita Willett, MBE, to local and regional cricket. Tonight we recognize and celebrate the aptitude exhibited by Mr. Willett that led him to become a pioneer and an icon in Nevis and farther afield. An objective assessment of our island will reveal that as tiny as we are, we have been able to produce men and women who possess extraordinary skills and abilities, and who have used them to redefine who we are as a people. Clearly, Elquemedo is one of such persons. By virtue of his confidence, the resilience he possesses, his passion for the sport, and his commitment to exceptional performance, he inspired a tiny island, the region, and the world. As the annals of history record, while other aspiring cricketers from the Leeward Islands were missed by the telescopic sweep of regional and international organizations, Mr. Willett distinguished himself initially in first-class cricket at the Leeward Islands level and then as a member of the West Indies cricket team with his distinctive left-arm spin bowling. His skill and discipline took him on tour to faraway lands like India and Pakistan, representing the West Indies, and as a Nevisian ambassador in his own right. Thank you, Mr. Willett, for being a beacon that shunned the international spotlight on Nevis, placing our name in the narrative of commentators and into the international sporting headlines. It is unfortunate that the change in strategy from spin to pace at the West Indies level, as I understand it, might have resulted in less visibility of Mr. Willett thereafter in the cricketing arena. Nevertheless, it is noteworthy that he soldiered on and continued to make a contribution to professional cricket until his own career ended sometime around 1989. Mr. Willett, it is really no trivial feat that you were able to rise to the top from amongst your counterparts in the Leeward Islands upon selection by the region's most prestigious cricketing body. You must have exhibited the requisite talent and temperament for selectors to place an asterisk next to your name, and to have achieved all this while still a teenager speaks to your early demonstration of dedication to your craft. I salute you, and your continued commitment to passing along your knowledge of cricket to the young and rising stars of the sport. You did this with your own sons and daughter, who have made their own notable contribution to cricket in Nevis and to the region. Your continued presence among the young cricket players of Nevis is deserving of the highest praise. You are indeed, sir, a role model to aspiring cricketers and to all of us citizens alike. Fittingly, Nevis's main cricketing facility bears your name as a lasting legacy of what can be achieved even from the humblest of circumstances. Further, your name now bears the post-nominal letters MBE, signaling the conferral of one of the most esteemed honors of the British Empire. You're well deserving of these honors, as you have distinguished yourself as a true definition of excellence. Permit me to borrow from Ronnie Oldham when he said, "Excellence is the result of caring more than others think is wise, risking more than others think is safe, dreaming more than others think is practical, and expecting more than others think is possible. Mr. Elquemedo Willett, you have demonstrated a rare kind of excellence during your cricketing odyssey. You were never satisfied with anything less than greatness, and such rare excellence proved to be a critical ingredient in your success. On behalf of the Nevis Island Administration, please accept our highest commendation on your achievements throughout your cricketing career. As we reflect on the 50th anniversary of your selection to the West Indies cricket team, we thank you for committing yourself to your professional development so that today your story stands as an inspiration to us all. Thank you, and may God bless you.
That's the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, with umpire's call. And the words which umpires hear most often is, "How's that?" And I see here that we will hear from the President of the West Indies Cricket Board in the waning days of his two-term presidency, Mr. Richard Richie Skerritt. Saw him sitting in the stands in South Africa this morning. So unless he took a transatlantic flight, that has to be delivered in another format. How is that, Carlisle?
Steve, it's umpire's call. Message from Mr. Ricky Skerritt to Mr. Carlisle Powell, President, Nevis Cricket. From Ricky Skerritt, CWI President. Subject, 50th Anniversary Tribute to Elquemedo Willett. Date, March 2nd, 2023. Dear President Powell, it is with regret that I confirm to you that I am unable to attend your upcoming recognition and celebratory event in honor of Mr. Elquemedo Willett, MBE. As I mentioned to you previously, I will be unavoidably away from the Federation at the time of your event. However, through this medium, please allow me to add my sincere congratulations to your honoree and to all concerned with putting on this timely event. Nevisian cricket is steeped in history because of people like Elquemedo and others who have punched above their weight on and off the field. But Elco Willett is special because he was a pioneer in every sense of the word. As a teenager, his abundance of talent and valiance generated pride and joy for thousands of Nevisian and West Indies cricket fans. The records show that Elco was only 17 when he first represented the Leeward Islands, and he was even younger when he first played for Nevis. Just 2 years into his first-class cricketing outing, at the tender age of 19, on March 9th, 1973, exactly 50 years ago, he was selected to play for the West Indies in his first test match against Australia. Surprisingly, Willett's international career ended just 18 months later, having played just 5 test matches. Those of us who face Willett or witness his repeated discharge of the regional batting cream of the crop never quite figured out why his international career had been so short-lived. We are not sure if the selectors were changed or if those who had selected him changed their opinions about his obvious talent and abundant potential. As naturally gifted as Mr. Willett was at age 19, he had grown into a far better bowler and overall cricketer by the time of his mid-20s, when he had been already permanently omitted from the West Indies team. Fortunately, Elco's highly productive cricket journey continued for nearly 2 more decades for Nevis, and the Leeward Islands. Interestingly, this year, 2023, also marks 95 years since the first West Indies Test match took place in 1928. In short, it took 45 years in the wilderness of Test cricket before any Leeward Islander could gain selection to the West Indies team. I have no doubt that the Leewards were producing good cricketers back then, but according to the West Indies selection system at the time, it took 45 years before any Leeward Islander was good enough. Clearly, Elco had to fight valiantly against the odds to become the first Nevisian and Leeward Islander to break through to the West Indies cricket team. That is the essence of why you are celebrating Elco's pioneering and historic achievement tonight. May your celebrations generate new respect and fond memories for Elco's achievement. May it also stimulate warm reflections on your rich Nevisian cricket history. And may all who are present at the event be filled with pride and joy for what was achieved 50 years ago by this humble Nevisian cricket hero, Elquemedo Elco Willett. Thank you, Ricky Skerritt.
Thank you, Ricky Skerritt, all the way from South Africa, via Carlisle. Now, the next speaker has followed Willett's footsteps closely. Less than a year after Willett made his debut, he made his debut as well at the same venue, Kensington Oval, Barbados, this time against England. He was the fastest man to 100 test wickets in 19 test matches. Give him a round of applause. Then in 1976, when South African Tony Greig had the audacity to tell Clive Lloyd he would make the West Indies grovel, not even considering that he came from the capital of apartheid, South Africa. Andy Roberts responded taking 28 wickets, as did Michael Holding. It was pace like fire. And we demolished them 3-0. And of course, this man was the spearhead of the famed four-pronged pace attack, which dominated cricket around the world for going on 2 decades. Tonight, it will be pace like fire. A couple bouncers in between. I want you to welcome Willett's close friend and his roommate in Willett's last tour in 1974-75 in India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Could you welcome the Venerable Dr. Sir Anderson Montgomery Roberts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol observed. Elquemedo Tonito Willett. I owe my existence to him because had he not paved the way for both Viv Richards and myself, West Indies cricket wouldn't have been where it is. And a lot of you may not know that. In 1969, when Elco made his debut, both Viv and myself made the debut the same year. And we owe a lot to Elco because had he not break this glass ceiling that surrounded players from the Leewards and Windwards, West Indies cricket would not have been where it was. Because we took our inspiration from Tonito. Yes, he was my roommate in India, and we shared room numerous times, had long-lasting conversation, some pleasant. And I know someone is waiting patiently to hear what they have to report on Elco. But it's not always what you think. Our conversations at night were basically surrounding cricket. And We both from the Leeward Islands and Antigua and Nevis and St. Kitts were bitter enemies during our struggles. But we seem to form, an alliance that nothing comes between us. And today he's one of my best friends. I see that they have me here saying bouncers. Well, I'm too old to bowl a bouncer, but I can pass on some verbal bouncers. And this is the gentleman sitting at the same table as I am. I see at the back of Elco's name is CBE or MBE. But what I would like to see is something at the front of Elco's name. So I'm hoping that the gentleman who comes after me can pass on some of that to his cabinet members. So next time I will adjust Elco, I will be saying, Sir Elquemedo Willett. And Elco, I must say congratulations. You deserve every honor that is bestowed upon you. And had it not been for you, I wouldn't be standing here because I would not have represented West Indies. So once again, congrats, Elco.
Thank you, Andy. 202 test wickets in 47 test matches. And here's a question I'm going to ask you tomorrow morning because I've wondered about it. I hope you're able to talk. We'll make you talk. I'll ask you this question because I've wondered about it for almost as long as we've had a nation. The fast bowler who had the most test wickets before you, that's apart from Gary Sobers, who ended with 235, but of course he bowled in many versions, was Wes Hall. And as soon as you passed his 198 test wickets, you were done. 198 test wickets, Wes Hall. Say that? Wes or you? All right. But anyway, shortly after you passed his record, number of wickets, you were done with. December 1983 in Chennai, India. I've always wanted to ask you if you were hurt or if it was the big islanders, Barbados being only 166 square miles anyway. He was a bouncer. All right. We'll find out more about that tomorrow. Well, previously we had the umpire's call. The next segment is called the DRS, and that's the Prime Minister, so I assume that he's the match adjudicator. Don't know how much cricket you played, Mr. Prime Minister, but there have been some good knocks before. Time to enter the middle. Could you welcome Prime Minister Dr. Terence Jew?
Good night to everybody. Let me start by recognizing Governor General Dame Marcella Leibert. Also allow me to recognize the Premier, Mark Grantley and his wife, and also to recognize our past Premier, Premier Parry and his wife, and to recognize Andy Roberts, Sir, Dr. Andy Roberts, who is here with us this evening. Also want to recognize the other members of the Nevis Island Assembly. But here at the head table, of course, we have, and I hesitate, but Mr. Willett, and his wife, Sandrine, and of course, other dignitaries, members from the cricketing associations, past cricketers for national teams, and Leeward Islands, I see a number of you. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I will start off by giving a story because I think that I was challenged by the chairman how much cricket I played or my involvement in cricket. And I see I'm down for the DRS. I think that's mean what? Digital review system? Decision review system? So I'm supposed to review all the decisions? Yeah. All right. So I'll give a short story before I start. When I was going to the United States and going through the process of interviews to basically decide which residency program I'll be matched in, I remember I went to Texas. And I entered the room of the head of the department, a gentleman, white, blue eyes, blonde hair. I could have been blonde, but he was white then. And he asked me to come in to sit. And he was a gastroenterologist. His name is Dr. Richard McCullen. You can look him up. He's a very well-known doctor who would have invented a number of things and who would have mentored a Nobel Prize winner in medicine. But he was Australian. And as I entered, we started to discuss medicine. You know, we talk about bowel disease and all sorts of things. Then he said, I see here that you're from St. Kitts Nevis, the West Indies. And he said, well, do they play cricket there? I think they play cricket there. I said, yes, we play cricket there. And he said to me, you know, I like cricket. And my favorite player was Andy Roberts. And the interview was supposed to be for an hour. 5 minutes was medicine, and 55 minutes was cricket. And interestingly enough, when I was growing up, I see Eddie here. Eddie would know that my great-grandfather and his father used to watch cricket in the 90s, and I used to stay up at nights with both of them watching cricket. Correct. And as a result of that, I had learned a good piece of cricket history. And of course, about Andy Roberts. And about 2 weeks later, he called me and he said, you know, Dr. Drew, I wonder if you'd like to study under me here in Texas and take up the position. Needless to say, I still believe that with all the credentials I had, that discussion on cricket is what got me the spot to specialize. Therefore, Chair, I have what? Review the system or the decision. And that is what took place. So I always believe that. And he and I, we still stay in touch. We still talk cricket from time to time. And the love of the sport, even looking at it, would have had that tremendous impact. And for that, I'll always be grateful to cricket. But tonight, I want to take this opportunity, really. A lot have been said about our distinguished honoree this evening. And so I would not want to repeat much of what was said of his cricketing history, because those who went before me, as I review, as you have said here, that I recognize that they were on point and they probably know more than I know. But I want to speak from the perspective of the type of influence that he would have had on nation development, not just in Nevis, but in St. Kitts as well, even though he played for Leeward in the Leeward Island tournament and would have represented Nevis. But I know that Kittitians are very, very proud of his achievements and would have been influenced by him. And the presence of so many Nevisian cricketers here this evening definitely tells me that. And I see Ambassador Kenneth Douglas, who is a cricket fanatic, as I would refer to him, is also here with us this evening. And he traveled from St. Kitts. Yes, he did. But last year, as the Prime Minister, I had the opportunity on the day that recognized men to nominate someone to receive an award on my behalf. And the person I chose was not a Kititian, but the person I chose was a Nevisian, and his name is Elquemedo, Willett. He could not have made it at that time, and his daughter received it on his behalf. And so I will wrap up by saying, if history continues as it is, where I see his achievement being so tremendous that the first person I would nominate to receive my award for Men's Day, then I think history might speak to other nominations that can take place. And so I want to wrap up by saying, Elquemedo, as I affectionately refer to you now, your achievements will go way beyond your years. You have shattered the ceiling and allow others to benefit. You have planted a seed, the tree under which you did not enjoy as much shade as others, but that speaks to your greatness. Congratulations again, and you indeed deserve all of the accolades that you're receiving tonight. Thank you for this opportunity. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. We're, of course, as a nation, into our 40th year, so we wait with bated breath. I know the Governor General is not down to speak, but I want to really acknowledge her presence as a member of the 1973 and 1978 champion Sinkits netball team. I've always valued her contribution and figure she's someone who understands that netball or cricket is not just a game, but it does much more for nation building. I want to say to you, Dame Marcella, as I said to you on the telephone when she was one of the first persons to pick up her phone, it was a Friday, and congratulated me on my book. You made my Friday, as I told you on the telephone. You know, sometimes we do these things in honor of the nation, and when we hear from people like you, we feel truly honored. Thank you again. Willett, I don't know how much spin the pitch will take tonight, because you're up against some fantastic speakers on the program tonight. Just about a week ago, we were at E.T. Willett Park because cricket had returned for the first time in a decade. And we were sitting in the old pavilion. Luther Kelly was there, and we were discussing what was the greatest catch that he had ever taken. Some people said it was one against Luther Kelly. I said it was one against Fry from Montserrat, which was absolutely stunning. Luther Kelly, you want to have a vote on that one? Luther Kelly, yeah. I was sitting on the wall. Yeah? Yeah? That too was a Sunday. I was in the yard of the Gingerland Methodist Church, and I remember Tony Cozier describing it and that catch did injure Willett. Well, Willett will have a chance now to tell us because he speaks next. His segment is called A Great Catch. Could you welcome tonight's honoree? Wait, don't come. Don't come yet. Andy, you got another? You were saying something? What thought you? Can't hear you. Oh. Well, Andy Roberts said it has to be the one in Grenada. He was there. He saw it firsthand. Could you welcome the honoree for tonight, Elquemedo Tonito Willett.
Good evening, all. I'd like to adapt. Okay. Good evening, all. I'd like to adopt the protocol already established. But I must recognize the Governor General, Mr. Leeward, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis, Mr. Drew, and our Premier, Mr. Mark Brantley. I'd like to say thanks to the Nevis Cricket Association for organizing this class year 50. I can't believe it's 50 years since I played first for the West Indies. Somebody told me tonight I just look like 50. Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe it's 50 years. I am very moved with all the speakers that spoke before me. Yeah, I like to say thanks to you all for the good things, the great things you have said about me. I like Mr. Andy Montgomery Everton Roberts, my old roommate. Yeah, it's nice to see so many of the players I've played with over the years and against, like Victor Eddy. I played a lot against him. They said he was the master of spin. But he never did much against me. I didn't get him out a lot, though. But he didn't do much against me. He was very cautious. Yeah, and people, I noticed there's some folks here who seem to have come from overseas. I guess they're members of the Leeward Islands team. Leeward Islands board. Let me say thanks to the president of the Leeward Islands board, Enoch Lewis, and the rest of his team for seeing it fit to be here for this occasion. You know, we got along very good too, Enoch and myself. Let me say thanks to my family for being here, my immediate and extended family, and friends. I've seen many friends here. I've seen some youngsters that I've been working with for a while, with Artie, Keith Atherton, and they come along nicely. I understand a couple of them made half centuries the other day against the under 13 team from St. Kitts. You know. And in general, let me say thanks to all of you folks who have taken time out to be here tonight, coming from wherever in the Virgin Islands, Antigua, Montserrat, or wherever. Thanks very much for coming and being a part of this classy at 50. Okay, thank you very much.
Elquemedo Tonito Willett. I'll give you a little joke, Elko. I came here today, twice in fact, to have a look at the surroundings. And when I walked past the area where the photos were being taken, there was a guy from Government Road. And when I saw it, I said, classy at 50. So he can't believe 50 Willett only 50 years old. And two of the girls said, no, the event is called Classy at 50. And he said he wanted to know because his mother was born in 1965. So she's going to be 58 years this year. And she can't believe Willett younger than she mother. Somebody from Government Road, his own village. I noticed today when I posted the pictures of you visiting the museum that your old teammate, David Paris, also from Government Road, commented, dudes, leg spinner dudes. He said, you look trim. In 53 days' time, Willett will be 70. He has kept in amazing shape, sharp in mind and wit. And we want to thank you for giving 54 years of those 70 to the development of cricket in Nevis. What a contribution. Now, our final speaker tonight, he's a night's watchman. He's going to bite us over into tomorrow. Longest serving president in the history of Nevis cricket, first in the 90s for a period of 10 years, and then from 2000 to the present. He's so able that when the CPL came to the Caribbean for the first time, he was the Chief Operations Officer in the inaugural season. Could you welcome President of the Nevis Cricket Association, Mr. Carlisle Powell.
Thank you very much, Steve. Governor General, Dame Marcella Leeward, Prime Minister, Dr. Honorable Terence Drew, Premier Mark Brantley, Dr. Andy Roberts, other officials, including officers of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, and I recognize at least 3 past Secretary-Treasurers of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board. Peter Jenkins, just stand. Peter Jenkins, Hastings Daniel, and Alfred Tyrrell, all who served as Secretary-Treasurer of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board. And of course, present officers of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, we salute you. I see also in the audience at least one member of the 1969 Nevis team to Antigua, Theodore Walters. Theodore Walters is down in this corner. He was there in '69. Okay. And did in fact play in '71 when Nevis won for the second time. Thank you very much. My inning tonight is going to be brief. I'm not going to do a Jason Gillespie and make a double 100. The first thing I want to do is to recognize our international players. And so these are members of the Nevis Cricket Association. For the first time, listen, before people started preaching gender equity, Dame Marcella, we elected 4 ladies to the management of Nevis Cricket. And the shortest one of them is the boss. I just carry the title, president. But the one who is shortest is the one who called the shots. Our secretary, we love her to death. Every time we work hard and we do something, she would threaten me and say, I'm going to resign. And then she would tell me, but I'm only going to resign when you resign. So let me thank them first of all. We have a good thing going. They work really hard, but we're beginning to see the results. And we have going off to Antigua for a camp, some under 15 players, and we are going to wish them well and hope that they stay in Antigua and that they make the Leeward side and move on. So we want to recognize those young fellows. And what we did this evening, ladies and gentlemen, we ensured that the players who were with the West Indies under 19 side and our under 15 players and our under 13 players, we made them ushers. Then we gave them a table because we want them to aspire to greatness. So we sponsored them so they could be a part of this event this evening. And saying sponsor, Premier Mark Brantley, we want to thank you and the Nevis Island administration because we started talking about celebrating Willett's 50th anniversary 3 years ago. And actually, I made an announcement when we were in New York, right, Steve, that we do something like this. In Maryland, we made that announcement. I came back home and I sold the idea to the Cricket Association, and they grabbed it and ran with it. We wrote to the Nevis Island administration and asked them for sponsorship, and they came up trumps because something like this evening is very expensive to put on. But the Nevis Island administration, they were very magnanimous and came forward with rock-solid sponsorship. So we thank you, Premier Mark Brantley. And I want to sell something tonight because we had one of these annually. We brought in people like Sir West Hall, Tim Hector, Teddy Griffiths as speakers, and we did one every year. The last one was 2004 when we honored Mr. Livingston Sargent, and we haven't done one since 2004, but we're doing one next year because we have to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Nevis playing in the Leeward Islands tournament. So here how we are going to do it. The members have said that I have the authority to announce tonight that we'll be resuming our membership drive. And anybody who purchases and pay for their membership by the end of September this year will get $75 off the price of their dinner next year. Membership is $275 a year. But if you pay for your membership by the end of September, you get a reduction of $75. Why are we doing this? Because we're not too sure that the government will be as generous next year. So we are raising our own funds for the dinner next year. We have an award for Mr. Willett. And the association went and had some nice plaques done. So we have an award for Mr. Willett, and one of these boxes has that award. They were supposed to look for them. And so, Mr. Willett, can we have you, please? And before I give you the award, Mr. Willett, let me call the Vice President of the Nevis Cricket Association and a member of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board. She has a nice, no, you have to bring that nice son with you. This is something that was done by the very talented Vaughn Anslin. And so it will be revealed. Willett will see it for the first time. So, Charlene, you can take off the wrapping and let Mr. Willett see what he's getting. I'm sorry that you had to take so much time to wrap it and then we just tear off the wrapping just like this. But trust me, what's underneath, I'm sure, will amaze you because Vaughn is an outstanding talent. And we had this commissioned just for tonight.
What do you think, folks? I was wondering if I would be able to transport this when I saw the big frame.
We're also giving Mr. Willett a plaque. It says Elquemedo to Willett, debut 9th March 1973, best bowling 3 for 33 versus Australia, first player from the Leewards to play for the West Indies. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Let me say thanks to Vaughn Anslin too. I know he does a really good job with his paintings, and I think he's done another good job here. So thanks again to the Creative Association too for getting him to do it.
We have one for Mr. Derek Parry, who is not present this evening. We'll go to Mr. Keith Lloyd Thomas Arthurton. And even as we call Keith, we want you to have some sympathy and condolences for Keith. He lost his dad just last week. So, but Keith, come forward, please. This one says, Keith, and listen, we had a note from the people who made it. They spelled your name wrong. And they said to us that they will replace it. They sent me a note to say they will replace it. But Keith L.T. Arthurton, debut 1st July 1988, personal best, 157 not out versus Australia. Keith was followed by Mr. Stuart Williams. And I had the pleasure of managing Stuart from under 19 all the way to Leewards. So I've seen some of his finest innings. He's still playing some good ones because he's coaching the under 13 team. And we have a team coming from Chicago. We'll be playing at the E.T. Willett Park on the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. He's going to be away, so he has entrusted me to coach the team when he's gone. This one says Stuart C. Williams, debut 16th March 1994, personal best 128 versus India. Next man up, Carl MacArthur Tuckett. While Stuart is now coaching the Leewards, Carl is making his way as an umpire, and a very fine umpire as well. Carl is one of those who I plan, when I get up, so I plan to ask St. Peter what went wrong. Because debut 8th April 1998, personal best, 2 for 41 versus England. They never picked him again. Yeah. So I have to ask the question, what went wrong? Congratulations, Carl. And he's the dad of our outstanding Leeward Islands under 19 winning captain, Carlon Bowen Tuckett. Carl was followed by Ronako Morton. Ronako is not with us any longer, but his nephew and the son of Stuart Williams, one of our under 13 players, Aidan Williams, will come forward to accept the award. Congratulations, Aidan. Ronako S. Morton, Debut 13 July 2005. His personal best in test was 70 not out. You take it home. I will read the one for Derek as well, but continuing down the line, Kyron O.A. Powell, debut 6 July 2011, personal best 134, and he became the 9th West Indian to score a century in each inning of a test match, 117 and 110 versus Bangladesh. He's not with us tonight as well. I was told that his father will collect it. Derek Parry, debut 3rd March 1978, personal best 65 not out. And it came in the same match when he took 5 for 15 versus Australia. And hear this, 4 of the 5 wickets were all bowled. Derek Parry. We also have presentations to be done by the US Virgin Islands and St. Kitts. So let's call our close neighbors first. St. Kitts. President Dennis Phillip is coming forward. Elko, this is something really nice, and it's heavy too. Elquemedo to Willett, in recognition of the 50th anniversary of your selection to the Cricket West Indies team.
Telling them you have to bowl with it. It's too heavy for me. Bowl with.
On behalf of the St. Kitts Cricket Association, a certificate of lifetime honorary membership. This certificate is proudly presented to Elko Willett from the St. Kitts Cricket Association.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the St. Kitts Cricket Association.
And now the US Virgin Islands Cricket Association.
Good evening. protocol has been established. I am Clive Rivers. I appear here on behalf of the Virgin Islands Cricket Association. There's a lot of words have been said, and so I don't want to repeat any of it. It was all good, and we're happy to be here. But if a picture tells 1,000 words, we want to present a picture photo for Elquemedo Willett, who is in our mind break the glass ceiling for West Indies cricket. And it gave us a sense of joy knowing that a little left-hander from Little Nevis was able to make history. And it gave us a sense of pride. And in fact, it served as a source of encouragement for a lot of us, including myself. Just in coming to this function, we thought about what would be the best gift that we could present. And so in Tortola, just about a month ago, Elquemedo received the Yellow Jacket Award from the Leeward Islands Cricket Board. And so we took this picture and we decided to frame it for him because I said a picture tells 1,000 words. And so if you'll come up here, Elquemedo, this is you here receiving an award in Tortola. We thought it would be a pleasant thing for you.
Thank you very much.
Don't go anywhere yet. And we got this one. This one is phenomenal because it captures both yourself and Andy Roberts, the great Andy. We have Enoch Lewis sitting right there, Gala right here in it, and we have the president of West Indies Cricket all here, and we thought this will be a great thing for your wall.
Yes.
So thank you very much for shining a light. And we'll be remiss because now we learn that there has been a museum for cricket. And we thought this would be quite fitting for the museum. So we want to present this to the Nevis Cricket Association, Mr. Powell. And we thought this would grace the museum very well because it has in a captured photo of the leadership of West Indies cricket and also the great Andy Roberts and Mr. Willett. Thank you much.
Thank you very much. We are grateful for all of you who took time out tonight to come and have dinner with us and to celebrate Mr. Elquemedo Willett, MBE. Again, we said to you, we look forward to hosting you next year. And remember, September 30th, you purchase your membership, you get $75 off dinner next year. See you next year. Travel safely back home. Dr. Sir Andy Roberts, we have a date on the radio tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So have a good breakfast because we're going to be going from 10 until 12 on 2020 radio. Thanks again. Get home safely and see you next year. Thank you very much to Steve. I don't know anybody else who could have done a better job. He did an excellent job, so we're grateful. Thank you.